Welcome to FOL Marketplace. That's the business and economics and financial discussion on focus on Liberia. This afternoon we have something good for you, packaged well for you. In the midst of what's going on in the country, we decided to talk about the gas issue in Liberia and regional trade. We understand there is a gas issue which is almost resolved, we hope, and there was intervention from Sierra Leone. So we want to look at that and look at the gas shortage in Liberia in the face of regional trade. With me to discuss this, I have Mr. Morris T. Mann, who is coming back on the forum. Mr. Mann, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, John. Thank you for bringing me on today again.
Thank you. We also have Mr. Depu Zuo, Grandpa Depu. Depu is performing some grandpa duties tonight. So, Mr. Zuo, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Oh, you are muted. Sorry.
Thank you very much, but it's a little bit of tax tonight, but I hope to contribute.
All right, thank you. And William King, who is my co-host. William, where are you? All right. William is going to be here. We have for the first time joining us on Focus on Liberia, Mr. Leo M. McLean. Leo, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, to the wonderful audience of Focus on Liberia. I'm glad you could tune in. We look forward to sharing some vital information with you in conjunction with some of the other panelists as well as distinguished hosts. So thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the part.
Thank you. And then we have my co-host, William Thomas Bernard King, the grandson of President Charles D.B. King. We want to mention that because we are royalty on this forum.
Yeah, we are in the house full effect. I want everybody to know that President King was a Christian man. So if you have any issue with the firestone or anything, I hope you are too, so that when you get to heaven, you can debate it with him. So once again, I want to thank all of our viewers for joining us. Once again, this is going to be a very healthy, hearty discussion. We have so much going on in Liberia, gasoline and all that good stuff. So look forward to it. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll come back with the disclaimer later. If you want me to do it now, I can.
We want to go back to Mr. Leo King. Want to thank you first for inviting. Through you, we're able to get Mr. McLean on the forum. So we want to say welcome again, Mr. Leo M. McLean, with that beautiful radio voice, as William said. So we want to just since this is your first time, we want to say welcome to the house. Just briefly say something about yourself, introduce yourself to our audience so that we get to know you a little more.
Yeah, thank you. Once again, thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, so my background has covered the area of investments, finance, and business. I basically finished off my high school here in the States. I went on to obtain a master's degree in finance, well, a bachelor, of course, first, then subsequently a master's degree in finance. I've worked for various investment banks, including Union Bank of Switzerland, as UBS, just formerly Payne Weber, Morgan Stanley, and even AXA Financial. These are all global financial institutions. I'm also an investor in various enterprises, as well too, real estate, restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. So my experience not just come from the professional side of kind of working in corporate America, but also the practical side of actually running actual businesses as well too, and kind of seeing what it's like on all sides and how things kind of happen, on the ground. So, I'm very happy to, share some ideas. Because at the end of the day, Liberia is really all we have. I mean, we want to go back to Liberia and make sure it's better, so that, we can feel special again, like it once was, and and hopefully with all of our contributions, we can get to that point. So again, thanks for having me on. I look forward to to sharing some more knowledge.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. And now we'll go back to you, William, for the disclaimer. And after that, I will invite our resident economist, Depu Zuo, consultant, and the man with his fingerprints on the Pro agenda. Mr. Depu Zuo will go ahead and introduce to us, or just give us an overview of what we're going to be discussing today. But before that, let me go to William Thomas Bernard King for our disclaimer. At the same time,
Thank you.
we welcome all of you to Focus on Liberia. This is where we talk business, economic, finance, investment, everything that has to do with money. Saturday, 3 p.m. every Saturday. William.
Thank you, Dennis. So for everyone, just have to read our disclaimer. The content is for informational purpose only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on our media or written documents constitute a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Focus on Liberia or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments in this or in any other jurisdiction in which such media material may be shared. All content on this site is information of a general nature and does not address the circumstances of any particular individual entity. Nothing in the media constitutes professional or financial advice, nor does any information on the platform constitute a comprehensive or complete statement of the matters discussed or the law relating hereof. Thank you very much, Dennis, for giving me that time. One of the things this show is about, educating, promoting, and elevating all things Liberia. Leo, you mentioned some things, and I know you mentioned it very quick or very briefly. I want you to touch on a couple of things. Number one, I understand that you're part of a group, I believe, non-profit or with St. Patrick, where you guys do some philanthropic work in Liberia.
Yeah.
I don't want to just quickly put that aside. I would like you to take a few minutes and share with us a little bit about that and some of the things you did 2019 and what you guys will be looking forward to in 2020. Mm-hmm. And then also being that you worked in the banking and finance industry, I want you to maybe tell us what does that allow you to do in terms of looking and analyzing a financial picture like Liberia. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, no problem, William. So I'm national chair of the membership committee of the Mid-Atlantic chapter of St. Friskies. The St. Friskies organization comprises of St. Patrick's and St. Teresa's Convent with two primary objectives. The first is to provide scholarships, tuition, supplies, et cetera, to girls attending the St. Teresa's Convent in Liberia. I have to say the national organization has consistently provided over 100 scholarships every year to girls attending St. Teresa's Convent. As you can imagine, with a deteriorating economic condition in Liberia, parents who once could afford to send their children to St. Teresa's Convent are just not in a position to do so anymore. And so the St. Friskies National Organization has been sending money to pay these tuition, a lot of times covering books, et cetera, for these girls. And in fact, if you go to St. Friskies page, and you see some tearful video of these parents really expressing their thanks and appreciation to the national organization, led by magnificent President Stephen Kofa, who does an excellent job leading the organization. And that's one of the things that we've done. I'm also president of Mid-Atlantic chapter of St. Friskies. We've actually raised, close to $3,000, in 2019 to help with these national objectives, and to basically send the money to Liberia, and been engaged with a lot of the, folks in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area to help them mobilize. As a matter of fact, we have a St. Friskies fundraiser tonight, actually in Maryland. So all those that attended St. Patrick's or have family members that went to not only St. Patrick's but convent, we're encouraging all of you to come attend and really help the rebuild of St. Patrick. Realize St. Patrick was just not a great school, but it was a beacon in the Liberian society. So we want to restore that high educational standard and that, you know, of what it meant so much to the Liberian society, and also, you know, help with improving the, you know, conditions at St. Teresa's Convent. So I'm very, you know, proud to be associated with our organization, and, you know, got some great leadership, you know, good leadership team with the Mid-Atlantic chapter, Sam Toh, who's my vice president, Robert Williams, treasurer, you know, Quintina Stewart, who's our, you know, executive appointee. You know, she's been, you know, tremendous. Elma Gawe, and not to mention Amadou Sirleaf, who is of that graduating class of '96. Tremendous support that they've been providing to the organization. So I don't want to, you know, spend too long on that, but that's what's been going on with St. Patrick and St. Teresa's Convent organization, i.e. term St. Friskies. Now to your other point, William, about economic conditioning in Liberia, you want me to touch on that a little bit, correct?
Yes, Leo. I wanted to you know, to first touch on, you know, your career working in the banking and investment industry.
Okay.
You know, are you you know, what are some of access to data or some of the professional skill sets that you have in terms of how to look at data, economic data, and everything that will relate to some of the conversations we have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my entire career has been in investments, finance. You know, so my first job coming out of college was with Union Bank of Switzerland. So basically, you know, there I really saw how the capital markets worked, how the economies of societies work, how people analyze data, how people make projections, and to really have a forward-looking idea in terms of not just what's happening today, but what's that going to mean for the everyday person in the future, for businesses, you know, for enterprise, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that carried on. Obviously, it got more real time when I actually got to manage people's money, because now you had to take all this data and actually make financial decisions that actually affected people's money, but more importantly, their livelihood and their families, right? So you had to be as precise, as accurate as possible in your analysis, in your prediction, in your recommendations, in implementation of these, you know, of these recommendations to actually better the lives of people. So, so that's been my career. You know, and certainly getting involved with, you know, kind of entrepreneurship myself along the real estate arm, along the, you know, like restaurant. I own, you know, and partners of, you know, various restaurants, as well as, you know, some beverage companies. I get to see, okay, this is actually, you take all that advice and you kind of apply it towards yourself, right? And create enterprises and create value, you know, so that you can sustain yourself and your family. So I have it from all angles, both from the analytical angle, from the advice angle in terms of giving advice to institutions, individuals that are very affluent and wealthy. I also applying all that to, you know, to my own self, my own business, my own enterprises. So I can actually, you know, kind of see the benefit from that perspective.
Thank you. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, on Focus on Liberia. We are here, the business talk, economic talk we're going to be having today, the gas shortage in Liberia and the regional market, what's going on. So we had we have a guest on the show, Leo. He just, you know, spoke to you a little bit about his expertise. We'll now pass this to Depu. Leo, we're going to come back, but now I think we'll have Depu say a little bit, and then we'll get into where the rubber is hitting the road for our people in Liberia.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Sorry, there will be some other disturbances here, but I think Liberia, since the administration of President George Weah, have been going through a lot of economic challenges. But one of the historic aspects of it, which is somewhat like a tipping point in terms of our economic challenges, have been the gasoline issue. And you know, the issue of gasoline price has serious impact on even the food price. It also has impact on besides the transportation, even production in terms of agriculture, almost everything, even health, education. Students are not going to school and parents cannot afford to actually transport their kids to school. And that itself has been a serious challenge for Liberia for the past 2 weeks. And I think that one lesson that we just a response that came up just 2 days ago came from our neighboring country, Sierra Leone. And I think that is a practical thing that we need to look at. Why, first of all, Liberia as a country will go out of petroleum product and not a formal trading partner in terms of importation of fuel. Sierra Leone is not producing, but why is it that we have to go to Sierra Leone for fuel to cross the border? And that makes it very important for us to look at the relevance of having the regional cooperation, regional market. Liberia is a founding member of MRU. It's a very good concept established by President Torba and his colleague. And we also have the ECOWAS that were championed by Liberia. How can we look at this opportunity? For Liberians, many of us who have actually lived and been in the United States, you realize that one of the things that there is a free movement of goods, people, and that's something that it has serious impact on growth opportunity. Can we look at this, the intervention by NP and Aminata, a Liberian-owned firm, to just establish relations across the border to bring in fuel after the fuel shortage? What can Liberians learn from that? It's something important that we got to be looking at. The political aspect of the political debate will be there, but I'm thinking more of the economic opportunity in the sub-region. What should we do as a country and as a region? How do we really, tap into this opportunity? The last time we brought a guest here from Jungle Power that also take electricity energy from Cote d'Ivoire to Liberia. So it's something that we have to look at today in terms of regional trade and economic cooperation. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Dennis. Before we go, because I know we want to get into Morris.
Oh yes,
Morris, you have been quiet over there. You've been quiet over there. What are your thoughts about this situation where we heard that it was maintenance and now it's not maintenance, and we heard it was going to be about a week and now it's going into week number, well, we heard it was going to be about, after like a week, we heard it was going to be another week. So now we're going into almost the 21 days now. Please share your thoughts on that.
And my brother King. First,
Yes.
I want to say thank to Leo for the initiative from the level of Friskit. It's good that to see people giving back to that institution. Education is the key to everything that we do in life. And to the topic, you see the issue of prioritizing our priority in Liberia have become a major issue over the years. That what you see today, our economic problem is just complicated, and we cannot just solve it abruptly because the foundations was not established. And the shortage of petroleum product in Liberian market is not as a result of global crisis, but is as a result of poor management from the level of LPRC and stakeholders within the sector. LPRC is a business entity, and they have partners, they have stakeholders that investing within that entity. And to see the business people and LPRC sitting and allow that commodity, that inventory to just go dry, is sad. It's very sad. Today, you only want to look at from the side of the government, but look at from the private sector, the business people. How you sit there for your whole inventory to dry off? Then what kind of business is doing? People will see that some of them were acting on a political influence to expose government, and that's not fair because the government trusts business people with the expectation that they will meet up with the demands of the market. So if those very business people sit there and the whole inventory go dry, and they start shipping blame, oh, government did this, other people did this, then you're not really a business person, because as a business person, from the perspective of business, your customer interest comes first, the consumer interest. It's like you producing rest and your consumer need that rest to every day. And the day you go out of rice, you know what happened to your consumer? They shift to other people. So how can you maintain your customer? That's the objective of business. It's not just to come out and make profit, but customer satisfaction. So if the business people sit there and the inventory dry up because like the government is not involved in importation of petroleum products, the government only does storage. So, and the business people that are supplying their customers, because we, the public, are the consumers. So if they sit there and allow petroleum product to dry off that inventory, then what's happening? We lost confidence in them. Then we start looking for other potential people to come in the market.
Right.
Yeah, it's sad.
So,
and from the side of the LPRC management, I think that's all there were poor administrative activities going on at the entity, because the petroleum products are a political commodity. So you should be, as a government, you should be on top of the game.
right. Let's take a step back and see, because I know there is a lot of politics around the shortage of gas in Liberia and Sierra Leone. So I was joking somebody, I said, how many Liberians want dual citizenship in Sierra Leone? Because this time, every time we talk Liberian politics, Sierra Leone comes up. And Julius Mario, yeah, open, yeah, you know. So it's like, okay. But politics aside, let's look at, and any of you can share ideas on how does the process look like? Bringing gas from the acquisition, you know, the storage and the distribution. What is the process? What's the involvement of LPRC, of the businesses, and the Commerce Ministry or the central government? Can anybody really share light on what the process look like? I know we can easily jump into the politics, but
Just let me weigh in on that a little bit, because when I was at the General Auditing Commission, I had the opportunity to serve as one of the manager on the engagement at LPRC twice. And the process involved, I may not have all of the details in my head now because it's been long, but the process starts from where a company get licensed to import a petroleum product in the country. And LPRC does the storage and distribution. Like LPRC hosts the fuel and does distribution. It's like when you bring your own fuel, LPRC holds the fuel and the gasoline, and they distribute for you based on requests from your customer on the market. So, and that's something at the port that people in our audit will recommend it is the government need to take control of, especially LPRC, NPA, and other state-owned enterprises that generating revenue, because the issue of corruption misplaced priority. How they manage the revenue generated from the entity level, because the money generated from LPRC is not going to the consolidated account directly. It is being controlled by LPRC. So you see over there, they create and their own benefits, and they allot money the way they want to do it, and the government only receive contribution. How can a government-owned business receive contribution? It's like, I get my store and you selling there, you get no goods. I just put you to sell in my store, then you give me contribution, you collect my money, you give me contribution. You're not shareholder. That's a vulnerability. And the government needs to address that. The government needs to take control of a business. Because if government is in control, government ought to mitigate the risk, government know the revenue that coming in, government know how to what investment the money into what maintaining storage reserve just in case the business people fulfill on a commitment to supply the market.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Morris here, what I'm hearing you saying, of course, globally, some of the things you are recommending, where we always say government needs to have less hand in some of these things. And my understanding when I look at LPRC is that this is a government sponsor business. It has the authority to do certain things. But here you're saying is that even in this role, there's some limitations. And what you would like to see is that government needs to take complete control over this. And so maybe there are some fears or concern that can our government really do this? Let's go to Leo to ask his opinion about what's going on with the gas shortage.
Sure, thank you, Will. I'm glad you have me come in because I wanted to respond to a few things. I don't think this is fundamentally a oil problem or oil management problem. Although the management of oil would help, but a month from now, there's going to be another scandal. We already know that there's a scandal of inflation. We know that there's a scandal of no money in the banks. We know that there's a scandal of high unemployment. We know, the list go on and on.
Did you say scandal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it a scandal or is it reality? Those people standing in line is real.
Yeah. Technically, yeah. It is, but it's one crisis after another, right? So fundamentally, we're in an economic depression. I think people have to understand that and realize what an economic depression is. I was the only person predicting an economic depression 2 years ago. In fact, Morris and myself used to battle on Facebook. He thought this was about politics. It's really, I don't really care about politics. I'm focused more on economic and factual information. You know what I'm saying? That's more I was focused on. I'm a student of economics and finance, and I've studied most of the financial crises that have occurred over the last 100 years in most countries all across the world. And they're fundamentally the same, okay? They're fundamentally the same. So I'm gonna give you basically a background of what an economic depression is so people can understand what's going on and thinking, oh, it's just an oil thing. It's just just a few missing money in the bank. It's not about any of that stuff because there's a depression going on. People need to realize that, okay? So the first stage of an economic depression, okay, that signals that you're gonna head into a deep crisis, okay, is what Alan Greenspan, who's the former chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, termed as an irrational exuberance, okay? What is irrational exuberance? Irrational exuberance is when people all of a sudden get into this feeling that they have so much money and they have so much power and they kind of do anything they want to do, right? So that causes a series of action, that is hard to, once it starts rolling, it's hard to get it back on track, right? So let's rewind back to the United States government into the U.S. stock market crash of 1929. If you guys can recall, during that era of the 1920s, the U.S. economy in the early 20s at least, was booming, right? That's when they came out with Henry Ford Model T cars. People were building luxury mansions. People were, eating fancy China wares. I mean, go back and look at the movies of the 20s. That's when people live way above their means. And what were they doing? They were borrowing money from the banks to do that. They didn't have the money, right? That time of the year, the stock market was booming, and so people were borrowing against their stocks, right? And they were taking the money and spending it on luxury stuff. So when that happened, and then they started buying all these things, asset value sort of soared through the roof, but people were getting all this debt. They could not afford to maintain this high lifestyle, okay? And they couldn't, because there was no organic growth feeding that surge in spending. If people were just taking money, in the case of the U.S., in the U.S., borrowing money from the bank and spending. I'm going to draw the parallel with Liberia soon, but I just want to finish with America first, and we'll move to Liberia. And they were taking the money, spending all this luxury stuff. There was no real sustained economic income there, but it was just like borrowing and spending it. And then when they couldn't pay the banks anymore, the banks ran into crisis. And then Wall Street realized the banks were in crisis. And then people started selling off the shares, the bank collapsed, okay? Asset value collapsed. People, homes, cars, whatever, crash, right? And then there was a bank run. People went to the bank to try to get the money. They couldn't get the money. And then, panic ensued. The banks collapsed, and then the economy collapsed, but they didn't have jobs. So they couldn't feed their families. Then they ended up in food lines, okay? And then the US economy tanked. What is happening in Liberia is exactly what happened in 1929. And that's why I predicted that when Morris and myself used to go back and forth on Facebook. I kept telling, oh, you hate George Weah, but none of that stuff. I'm not interested in hating nobody. I just study the facts, okay? So that's why I'm presenting the facts. And so what's happening in Liberia is exactly the same pattern. 2 years ago, we saw a surge in spending. A lot of people all of a sudden had unexplained wealth. They're buying houses, they're buying cars, they're running around, they're spending. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't quite figure out where the money's coming from. It ain't coming from a salary, because nobody who's working hard, earning a decent salary, is gonna be running around spending money that senselessly, okay? So they saw this crazy spending in effect, but with the situation with America, they were borrowing money from the bank. With Liberia, it's not as sophisticated. They just took money from the bank and started spending it. The banks could not sustain, because when all this money was taken out of the bank, there was nobody paying the banks back, so the bank collapsed. That's why if you look at my post, I was the only person predicting a bank run 2 years ago. Very specific. I wasn't saying, oh, the economy's gonna crash. No, I was saying the banks are going to collapse, and nobody's gonna. And when you go to the money, I posted that, that they will not have money to take. And subsequently, that will lead to other crashes. I see somebody saying, oh, let's focus on the topic. But this is where all this crisis is coming from. And people think it's about someone not managing the oil properly. No, all this derived from a crash of the economy. Because if you fix the oil, guess what? Inflation is still, official numbers say it's over 100%. I mean, it's 28%. It's not 28%. I mean, if you talk to everyday Liberians on the street, inflation is well over 100%. And they're paying 10 times more what they pay for fuel, transportation, all these things.
But Leo, someone will say, will someone argue and say, hey, but I have money to pay for the gas. I have money to pay for the gasoline. There are many people, we have money to pay for the gas. So why isn't it there? We have the money. We have the money to pay for, at least for the gas.
Well, I mean, it sounded to me from all the facts I see, it is more the importers that are paying for the gas. It's not, when you say they, I'm not quite sure you're referring to, but let's
assume pimping boy, the driver, the electric company. I mean, the people who use the gas, the consumers.
Is that sustainable? It's like we've seen reports where a gallon of gas going for anywhere from 4,000 to 4,000 Liberian dollars, depending on which era of Liberia you're in. Is it sustainable that somebody who's barely making maybe 50 or 75, $100 a month okay, trying to survive. The average Liberian, that is going to be able to afford a gallon of gas costing between two or 4,000. Like, no, it's not. So it's not sustainable because we don't quite have that growth in employment or jobs. You know, the economy to sustain that level of expense in most commodities. You know, let alone gas. So I don't think that's sustainable.
Okay, so is our gas? So are you saying that the people who are importing gas, when they look at Liberia, are you saying that maybe then it's a situation where the hardcore truth is that basically the importers are just taking the gas somewhere else, but the government doesn't want to let us know that really they don't want to do business. They don't want to sell to Liberia because we don't have enough buying. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I think that there are some, kind of tactical solutions to the problem, and there's more strategic solutions to the problem, right?
Okay.
So I think what you're trying to focus on is more the tactical side.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to make sure we pay the importers. When the importers have money and they're going to import gas at a reasonable price, they're going to distribute it, they're going to sell it. Then we got to make sure we track the inventory. I mean, to me, that's just common sense, right? That's not like that. That's what any normal administrative process would do, right?
Got it.
More strategically, there are some bigger issues at play. And even if we pay the importers, they can import gas tomorrow and sell it for $2 or $3 US. Well, guess what? Inflation is still well over 100%. If before this gas crisis hit 2 weeks ago, the average transportation fare in Liberia had doubled. That's before the gas crisis came into play. Had doubled. Okay, from Dupo Road to Monrovia used to be roughly about what, 75, maybe $100. Now it's like 150, $200 before the crisis hit. Now it's like immensely way more than that. So what I'm trying to say, yes, there's some more tactical things we could do. Pay the importers, make sure they import at a reasonable price, distribute, reduce some of the legal burdens so few can move freely from one county to the next. That to me, that's just administrative. Our more fundamental issue is we're in an economic depression, and we need solutions to relieve the economic depression that we're in, and not just from a national perspective, just focus on the tactical issues of managing a gas distribution process.
And I want to disagree with Leo a little bit.
Hold on, Morris. And Morris, if you can adjust your camera, I don't like you going all the way on the side, so that you can be in the middle.
I'm good now.
Yeah. And if you can stay that way, that would be excellent. And we want to let's go back. I was talking about the process, and you give your view on what the process looked like, because it's gas. As Leo mentioned, today is gas. The other day was mutilated money, and then there was a shortage of Liberian dollar. Now it's gas. We don't know
and
what
there was employment. You mentioned
right.
employment.
So I mean, we're going to be having. I'm not sure if we're going to be having that snowball effect or not. But let's go back to this whole thing that we know today has the gas. I just try to pin down where the problem is, because I try to understand it from a process perspective. Leo has introduced another factor. Say, come on now, this is not about gas. Depression. Today is gas. Tomorrow is going to be something else. So we need to address the fundamental problem. But Depu, let me hear your input on that process first. What we know, because there's a lot of things out there. So since we try to educate here, so let's get the fundamentals as to what really LPRC role is. Because people are saying, okay, LPRC, the Senate, the House of Representatives calling LPRC and the Commerce Ministry. So let's get some understanding on the basic processes that are involved in the importation and distribution of gas. And we're going to take this a little higher to what Leo's talking about, depression. That sounds scary. But Depu, let me hear your thoughts on the process. All right, Depu is having some challenges today. He's He's our newest grandfather, so he's doing some grandpa duty. So Morris, you can
Congratulations, Depo.
Morris, you can come. You wanted to respond to
Yeah, sorry, my
can I come in, or Depo want to?
okay, Depo, go ahead before Morris. Morris trying to do politics here, so we don't want to.
No.
So let me get Depo to talk about the processes first. Depo, are you there? Okay, go ahead, William or Morris.
Yeah, and why I want to disagree with Leo, and we had a lot of disagreement. Leo is an experienced expert. He knows what he does and how he do it best. And what we disagree is when you try to use your professional expertise to score political point because you think that you're not in the interest of the government and you have someone that you think that could do the job better than the person that in the seat. That's what we disagree. Okay. But on the economic depression, the issue of the depression, the economic depression hit Liberia and George Weah or power.
Can you say that again about
the economic depression actually hit our economy before Ellen Johnson Sirleaf even took power. The economic depression started from in the 70s when our economy was compared to Japan, other people, our GDP, that where we make a lot of money.
Morris,
Morris,
I'm not in finance, I'm not in business, I'm not in economic, but depression started in the 70s. We had war, and then after the war, we started from scratch. And come on,
it hit Liberia, they hit the economy before even Ellen came to power, but we never experienced it as a country because we have a standard intervention to sustain the economy. What ECOWAS,
everything collapsed for in the 10 years of civil war. Everything collapsed.
Chance, let me land this boat.
Yeah, it kind of. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so when Leo want to blame this government and to be solely responsible for what we're experiencing today, that what we disagree. But the problem Liberia has is we poorly manage the revenue generated from our natural resources from the 70s to the 80s before even the crisis came. So when the crisis came, the crisis destroyed our entire infrastructure. It destroyed electricity. It destroyed our water system. It destroyed everything. So and we didn't feed it in the 90s and in the 2000s because we had external intervention. Money was coming in from international community, so we didn't feed it. During the Ellen regime, we and the revenue, the government received a lot of support. So we didn't really experience it. It's like you having an empty drum and somebody giving you water today to fill that drum. So the day that person leave, it is your responsibility to maintain that drum filled. But the problem we have here is our economic envelope is very small. Our economy is on Broad Street. And you cannot use the economic activity on Broad Street to resuscitate our economy. The challenges are huge. So what the government did, I don't want to be political, but one of the government primary strategy was to focus on expanding the economy. How the government decided to do that is to focus on road infrastructure, because road infrastructure will create new economic zones, and the new economic zones will increase the revenue envelope. Okay, so today what we're experiencing is just a byproduct of the kind of decision we made in the past. But for him to say people riding big cars today, living big life, if it were comparative analysis, we're gonna be left people in the government living to be compared to from the 70s to 2017.
Okay.
We're gonna be left the people in the government living. When you try to profit the argument like that, then for me, I feel that you're very dishonest. You don't want to address the economic issue, but you want to be political. Then it becomes sad. And we can't go that route to resolve the problem. Because the economic issue we have today was not created by this government.
All right.
But to address the economic issue, that key economic issue we need to look at. We look at electricity. We need to look at road infrastructure. We don't have those things. If you want to invest in the agriculture sector, it's very difficult to create large-scale agriculture investment in Liberia as we stand.
Okay, can I step in for a little bit?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if these things are rural and those things are economic policies, but I leave that with the economic people to. Depo, are you still there? Before Leo coming and William, let me bring you in. Maybe I'm not that into economic.
Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. John.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I don't know. My internet as well gave out, but I wanted to come in terms of this discussion. I just wanted us to actually look at the issue and zero down on the issue of petroleum. Why it's true that other actors,
we're losing you, Depo.
Huh?
Okay, now you're back. No, the question I wanted to bring you
energy is one of the contributing factors to the pass-through inflation we have in Liberia. But what is very much important, the situation we have right now, I want us to discuss it in the context of the issue of the managerial capacity and the smaller market for business people thinking that what kind of opportunity do they have? Do we have, look at the consumption of gasoline in Liberia and how many players that can come into the market and what are some of the opportunities that they will have were they to say, I am, for example, I'm Aminata, a Liberian-owned firm, and know that you have an opportunity to have a large investment, and know that Liberia consumption of their product is just like 20% of the consumption. What's about Sierra Leone? What's about Cote d'Ivoire? So if there's a storage capacity in Liberia that cannot be able to sustain the Liberian consumption, that means that you can actually come in from Cote d'Ivoire supply and actually be able to sustain the market in Liberia. So that's a kind of opportunity that I want for us to actually dwell on in terms of how do we really improve our economy. But the national wealth management in terms of managerial competence and legal thing, that itself is an obviously managerial issue. All of these public corporations are going down. You see the LEC, you see the Water and Seaward, now it's LPRC. What is very much important here is that I'm just looking at, for us to think outside of the box. Do we really like?
Okay. We are losing our resident
As a
economy.
Liberian, to say that, look,
Depo,
fuel supply in Liberia.
Depo, we lost you in the middle there. Your phone went off.
Wow. So what we are looking for here is, are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, how can Liberian own business or investor, someone who like Total, that is now present in Liberia, how do they look at Liberian market? The Liberian market is very small. If Total is trying to order, they are depending on Nigerian market, they're depending on Guinea market, Sierra Leone market. That itself, it gives them opportunity. So if there's any short or shortage in Liberia, how do they respond? They respond from Cote d'Ivoire supply, or they respond from from Sierra Leone supply. That's the kind of thing we're talking about here in terms of regional cooperation. So what are some of the opportunities that we have now as a country? First thing is LPRC, realistically, it was established as a business firm. That's the only public corporation that is established as a business firm for government. It is not it's not ordinary public corporation like the way you have LEC and the rest of it. The LPRC has, the act creating LPRC gave that business-oriented structure to it that is to manage everything and be able to be like a commercial arm of the government. What is very much interesting to note is that after the Civil War, because the storage capacity been a constraint, now LPRC also decided to sell its function or give its function to other entities to also bring in, and now they only do what? Distribution. Now, in a distribution process, what is important here is that the management is supposed to be taking stock of consumption per day and per month to know the inventory. If there's a shortage, you can be able to project that if Liberia is consuming, let's say, 10,000 gallons monthly or daily, in the month period, we will need 1 million gallons. So that's what have actually not been the real work of the current administration. I don't know how they did it. They didn't keep track of that. So we lost track. So they were reporting different number, and what was in the storage was actually different. There where the situation is. In this case, one, we still go back to the managerial competence. But another thing that there could be that importers underestimated the market. If they underestimated the market, it means that there's a leakage somewhere. Leakage could be a physical leakage in terms of tank, leakage in terms of managerial control, giving gas out, or there's a leakage, gas is also going to the neighboring country, which is still part of our regional integration. Because if the gas importers in Cote d'Ivoire feel that they are selling a higher price in Cote d'Ivoire than that of Liberia that sell at lower price, buyers in Liberia will actually buy more and take it across to Cote d'Ivoire. That's the economic analysis that I thought we'll be coming up with it. What happened to gas price in Liberia? If the price of Liberia, gas price in Liberia is lower than that of Cote d'Ivoire, what happened to the Liberia market? If you expect Liberia to sell the gas across the border, or if you expect the importers themselves to say, okay, we'll sustain the market in Cote d'Ivoire because of profitability, and actually will allow Liberia market. So therefore, government decision should be, they'll be watching the regional market, regional prices, and at the same time managing their storage facility.
Right. No, Depo, and I don't want to speak for Leo. What Leo is saying is management and all that administrative, that's very low. The main issue here is economic depression. What you say to that?
I agree. I said earlier, I said the depression. In fact, the first thing that they Liberia, full inflation and the petrol are the major thing that actually escalate Liberia inflation. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So at this point, the only disagreement I have with Leo is that to say that inflation is 100%, our inflation is 32% as we speak, and which of course, from realistically from 11% in 2017 to actually 28% in 2018, and now in 2019 to go to 32%, that itself is actually what outrageous change. It's something that first of all you need to be looking at it. And one of the major things as we're looking at right now, my inflation increasing now with the petroleum. With the petroleum crisis, you expect, I anticipate at least 4 or 5 percentage point increment in the insurance. I mean, in the inflation in the next few months to come. So obviously you should expect that. One thing that there is that we have not been in the position to solve the issue of inflation, and it is really based on the energy consumption as well. While we are talking this, another thing that government need to be looking at in terms of economic stability is that why do not only look at what people are consuming locally. Petroleum is not in the local, it's not a local consumption product. What happened to the economy as a whole now is actually what won all completely. In terms of revenue generation, there's low revenue generation capacity for the entire country. Now, if you look at it realistically, if the petroleum importers are not receiving, they pay for the products sold to customer or to government, what will happen? If there's a decrease in their revenue, they will definitely also reduce their import supply. And as a reduce the import supply, it also lead to a shortage, and the economy will also contract further. So that's why government spending is very much important in this discussion. Is government actually paying back the customer? Are they carrying on, expenditure that will actually impact the economy? If you owe the petroleum importers and you don't pay, what will be the repercussion on the economy? And that's some of the things we are seeing right now.
Thank you, Depo. Let me go to Leo. Leo wanted to come in, but Leo, let's. I know you and Maurice. I know you'll do your thing, but for the sake
But
of
Leo, tell us, my man. We want to know about the gas thing. Why is it
Yeah,
we ain't got gas?
yeah,
This
yeah. So,
thing right here is very scary.
okay.
Tell us.
So, William, remember that you read a few months. You must have read a few months ago that Total was reducing the operations in Liberia, didn't you? I'm sure you must have seen that, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
these multinational aren't stupid. So they're assessing the economic condition in the country, and they're making decisions based on that. You think Total is worried about a few gallons of gas here that's gone missing? They don't worry about that sucker. You know, well, they'll worry about the long-term sustainability of the business. Is what I'm trying to get on. So any plan to, and a lot of multinational, but it's not just Total, as a matter of fact, which is importing gas, but it's Firestone, okay? It's Sam Derby, right?
Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. So the list go on and on. It's not about one.
What's that nonprofit? The one that leaving what's the one that said they were going to leave because they
With
couldn't?
the missionaries or something with the
Yes,
churches.
yes.
Yeah. I forgot the name.
Peace Corps is not Peace Corps,
Yeah,
is it?
well, even the Peace Corps said wind down the peace operations, and heck, they're not even a for-profit entity; they're strictly nonprofit, right? And they're still winding down operations because they realize the condition in Liberia is dangerous, okay, for them and their employees. That's why I keep saying it's not. These people they're not caring about politics. They're looking at what is the economic condition on the ground and what is being done to resolve it. When Herbert Hoover had the stock market crash and the American economy collapsed in 1929, he formed the New Deal, right? That was the economic plan to resuscitate the American economy. Where is the Liberian plan to resuscitate the economy? You can't tell me building substandard community roads is a plan to resuscitate the entire economy. It's total nonsense, okay? You need real, solid economic plan that's gonna boost the entire economy.
Leo,
Okay.
what if those roles were good roles? Is it still?
Yeah. So think of Mamusu. think of Mamusu that live in Doison. All of a sudden, she can catch a fare that goes from Broad Street to Doison. Okay, what does that do in terms of overall economy? It's helpful, but you need an overarching plan. Okay, overarching plan to resuscitate the economy. So let me give you some pointers of what this plan should include, right? So that we can all understand. Because it's not about, oh, we pay importers. And by the way, who's the person that did the import? It's a Liberian business, right? It's a Liberian business, secretary, right? So that tells you that at the end of the day, when all is said and done, as part of this plan, we have to empower Liberian business, not just have a lip service. Oh yeah, we empower Liberian businesses, blah, blah. No, you got to actually do something to make sure Liberians are wealthy. If they're wealthy, they're not going to take the money to Ghana or Lebanon or Iraq or America. They're going to make sure Liberia develops. Okay, so Liberian got to experience this growth. But let me just highlight, because I know we're talking about solutions. Now, we all know the problem, right? So we're trying to identify a solution. My solution is going to not just focus only on gas, because I don't think gas is fundamentally the problem. I think the problem was in the Great Depression. We have a lot of crises that are convergent. And if we don't address these crises, we think, oh, it's just one thing. Guess what? That's why we got inflation. That's why we got 80% employment. That's why the banks ran out of money, because we got a lot of things converging to a problematic situation.
Is there a way you can keep your video stable? It's kind of shaky.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was moving my hand. Sorry. Yeah, I can keep my hand stable.
Okay.
So number one, okay, the first thing that has to happen is the rule of law needs to be implemented. When I'm talking about rule of law is, I mean, you can stabilize inflation if you can stabilize gas prices. If people don't feel safe, they can't express themselves, no investors coming, no way. Okay, it's a waste of time. The economy will still collapse, okay? People gotta feel free, they can move about freely, unhindered. Yes, sometimes they'll do things that's a little bit crazy, but that's okay. The Constitution allows them to do something a little bit crazy, as long as it's not interfering with other people, okay? So rule of law gotta be implemented in such a way that people feel safe, they can roam about, they can do the business, they can speak freely. And yes, you're not trying to have them break the law, but you can be, I was saying Liberia, how much can people, people got to be free. Okay, the second thing is they have to leverage the resources in Liberia to raise capital. We have iron ore, we have rubber, we have timber, we have a lot of iron resources. This bogus concession model from, who knows when, where we get a small little royalty, 3, 4, 5% on natural resources is nonsense. We need to either build the factories in Liberia, okay, to process our raw
Take
materials.
a step back, Leo. You mentioned leveraging. Give me an example where you have, tell me a little bit about that. When you said leveraging, are you saying that we can leverage our iron ore? What is it we leveraging for what? Are you saying we can borrow more money? What is it?
Yes, absolutely. It's funny, like 2 years ago, talk about helping. I actually took myself from Liberia. From America, I went to Liberia. I went to a Buchanan investment conference. I presented, a business model case, why we need to leverage iron ore. I went to Coastal Radio Station, I had a meeting with the Central Bank of Liberia. I talked to a lot of people. We're not interested in seeing Liberia implode. We weren't. I should have took the ideas that wanted to help. And part of the idea was, listen, we need to leverage our resource, our iron ore, because that's one of the key resources we have at this point. And raise capital for all this developmental agenda we're trying to fund. We're trying to fund super highways. And by the way, we need all these things. It's not like anybody saying a super highway is a bad thing. I think the coastal highway is a great thing. I think, but it can't just stop there. It has to be businesses, revenue. In finance, my professor used to tell me, right? There's one thing you have to know, and that's called net positive. Net positive means when you don't, a calculation. Is it positive or is it negative? If it's positive, do it. If it's negative, don't do it. Okay? So you can talk about the roads and this and that. At the end of the day, is the net output of the economy positive? Are we actually producing things to create exports, revenue, et cetera? The answer is no. If we're not doing that stuff, we're losing. It's a waste of time. So I want to present all these things, how we can leverage the iron ore resources and raise billions of dollars through this cryptocurrency process. And by the way, cryptocurrency is one way. We don't have to do it that way. There's so many other ways, right? Where to use the cryptocurrency as collateral. We're not selling no iron or nothing. We're just using it as collateral to back the issuance of cryptocurrency. Like Akon is building a city in Senegal using Akon as a cryptocurrency. That's where the future is heading. People are using digital money backed by hard assets like iron or other commodities to raise capital to develop the country. That's all I was trying to do. Ain't nothing about against the government. We try to present solid ideas on how things work in the real world, right? And some people felt like the feedback I got was, anyway, I'm not going to go over feedback, but bottom line, the idea was not implemented. But those are ideas we need to do to raise capital to build a super highway, to empower Liberian businesses, et cetera, et cetera. But number one, that's what I meant by leverage, William. Okay, leverage the resources to raise money. If you don't have the money, you can't build the highway. You cannot build the high-tech schools. You cannot build the modern airports in every county. You can do all these things. You need money. Okay.
Thank you, Leo.
Well, I wasn't done with the recommendation yet. I'm still going.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, by the way, with this level, we could build vocational training centers. We could build, rehabilitation for Zogos, right? All these things we want to do. That is what is going to grow the economy, right? So that's what we need. And then another thing we need to do is to cut government expenditure on this. Like if it's not revenue generating, we need to cut it, or at least cut back on it. Okay, so we need to look at all the expenses. I don't think lawmakers in Liberia need to have cars every 2 years. Heck, they don't even need to buy them cars. They go to work like 2 days a week. They're making like $10,000 a month. Let them buy their own freaking cars, okay? And we need to save all this money, actually put in things that are revenue generated. So we need, just like that one line item talking about, go through all the other line items. Is it revenue generated? If it's not, cut it, put in revenue generation items. Okay, that's what is going to grow the economy. We're just spending money on stuff that's not making any money. All right, another thing we need to do is to empower Liberian businesses. So in America, there's something called the A8. A8 programs empower minority business owners, okay? In Liberia, we know who has all the businesses, they're all non-Liberians. So we need to actually have policies, but funding strategies for those policies from those levers we talked about to empower Liberian business owners. Who's saving Liberian today? Secretary, because he was empowered 25 years ago. Guess what he's able to do? And that same is going to happen. If you're more Liberians empowered, they will pay it forward. When Liberia goes into a crisis, Liberians will rise to the occasion and they will make sure the economy sustains itself. These are all like non-political, they're factual things. Like, and people always talk about, oh, agriculture will save the economy. And I disagree with that. I think we need to invest in agriculture. Absolutely, yes. We need to invest in cassava mill, rice farm. We need to do all these things, but it's not going to save the economy. Okay, if you look at Rwanda, most of the other countries growing in Africa, it's not agriculture saving the economy. Rwanda has a huge investment in technology. If you look at globally, look at the S&P 500. What is the top 5 biggest companies in America? It's not agriculture companies, technology companies. It's the Googles of the world. It's the Facebook. It's the Microsoft, right? Technology has more of an exponential growth. In technology, you can get 30, 40% return. You cannot get 30, 40% in agriculture. Agriculture is a lot more labor intensive. Okay, you have to buy a lot of land. You have to buy millions of dollars in equipment to go cultivate the land, do all that sucker. With technology, you don't have to do that. In 6 months, you can get people trained from zero to them programming. They can start building apps, selling it, and generating revenue. They can start. So technology is what's going to drive the economy. Yes, do you need agriculture? Yes, you need all the sectors. But technology will give you a lot more exponential growth. We need something that's more exponential in nature in terms of growth. That is what's going to So I conclude by saying we need a grand new deal, just like what happened in America, encompassing a lot of these big, broader issues that's going to solve the economic depression we're facing. The gas is a small component of that, administrative in nature. If we fix these issues, we can all rally around that, have an inclusive society where everybody's voice counts, they can contribute. People say it's inclusive, it's really not. You go there, oh, you remember this party, oh, you this, oh, you that, and and it's like we're not going anywhere. If we can mobilize, work together, then we can achieve where we're trying to go.
Thank you. There you have it. Dennis, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to bring in a caller. And Maurice, if you have to go on the side, please turn your video off because it's awkward when we see you on the side instead of facing the camera. Let me bring in a caller into the discussion. Let me get a caller on the line to chime into the discussion. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hey, Job. My name is Anthony Gay. I'm calling from Pennsylvania. I'm just calling to chime in a little bit. I know my senior brother, Leon, kind of, exploded the minds of the Liberian people. That he is something he's very passionate about. He's very, well versed in that area. I just want to give it a layman perspective. Yeah, but let me say this again. Yeah, let me say this. I want to give it a Liberian man, perspective and whatnot. Everything Leon is saying is the future, is the way to go and the way the world is going. But Liberia is 25, 30 years behind. And so how do we start? We got to crawl before we walk and before we start jogging and start running. And so great ideas, and yes, where we lacking. And those of you that say when we speak, we just hate this government. It's been 25 months since the government came into power. We don't have a fiscal policy and a monetary policy. You need both of them to grow the economy. That's economic 101. We don't have those two things right now. I challenge anyone who are die-hard fan of this government to tell me where is the fiscal policy and the monetary policy of the CDC administration.
Okay.
That's point number one. We don't have it.
Hold on, Anthony. Mr. Depu Zoo is on the line. He's not a diehard of the government, but I think Depu has an opinion when you talk about the fiscal policy and the monetary policy. Depu, is that true?
I will
Depu.
come closer. In terms of what he's saying, realistically, the government monetary and fiscal arm currently are not functioning and not performing to the expectation as far as I'm concerned. Realistically, if we look at it, their own monetary stand have remained weak, and up to now, they still have to develop, and maybe the new administration will work it out better. There is also a constraint. In fact, the partner has also realized that the fiscal arm of the government is not as strong as anticipated. So even if you look at it, government expenditure, that's one of the reasons why they have asked government to do the so-called harmonization. So that's challenge, which I don't want to accept it that is due to the past administration, is actually due to the current administration. So he's right.
Is there a fiscal policy? Is there a monetary policy? Yes or no?
Oh yes, every country has a fiscal and monetary policy. Obviously, fiscal has to do with the revenue, expenditure, and that itself is headed by the Ministry of Finance, and the monetary side is actually handled by the central bank.
Okay.
Which of course is one of the things I said earlier.
Let me let Anthony. Oh, Anthony, you gone?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, Anthony, so
assuming
complete your
that
thought.
we
You
have
have 30 more seconds.
Yeah. So, assuming that we have it or we don't have it and it's not functioning, where is the policy? How can we look at it? Where is the government have done good in the past 25 months, and where have they not done good, and how can we fix it? Leo track on something very important, and I need to touch on that. That is leveraging what we have, leveraging our resources. Let's take it for example.
If I'm getting, I don't know, breaking, my line is kind of breaking, but I don't know whether he's getting me clear.
No, he got you. Let him finish. Then we go to another caller. Just conclude,
so
Anthony.
Wodogisi range. Wodogisi, one of the 4 ranges in that area. Wodogisi. The tests have been done, and 1.82 million metric tons of iron ore. Given the current iron ore rate, Liberia has something called royalty on the resources. Even if the iron ore price goes up today or comes down, Liberia will still not benefit because they put royalty on the concession deed that was being signed. So we cannot benefit from our resources on iron ore. Even if iron ore today index market price is about $64, $65 per metric ton, Liberia can easily make up to $87 billion of that Wodogisi range deposit. That's a huge amount of money. But with the royalty placed on the iron ore agreement, those are things that are constraining our country.
Okay. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. Let me move on to our next caller, and then our panelists will respond. So, okay. The guy who was next in line, he hung up. So let's go to the next one.
Hello.
Go ahead, caller. You're live. Your name and where you calling from?
This is George Lobo, calling from Phoenix, Arizona.
Mr. Lobo, question or comment? 1 minute.
Brief comment. I kind of got on the show very late, but I heard some brilliant ideas, and I just wanted to commend the panelists. All of them strike a lot of good points, and to all the other callers as well. But I listened to, sorry if I got your name wrong. I think I know Miller, but I don't know the other brother who's wearing the black or gray sweater. He strikes some brilliant point, and he talked about the Christian currency and talk about new ideas on how we can be able to raise capital. But let me just say something real quick, Dennis. I saw the headlines. I really was focused more on the gasoline issue. I know Liberia do have a lot of problems. We can discuss them every time from one thing to another. I think what has to happen to now is, since indeed our country went over 10 days with gasoline shortage, first and foremost, we must be looking at what can be done. How can it be prevented? from a leadership perspective, what is the president and his cabinet or his entire government doing? We know that the way in which LPRC was set up, it was set up to make business. That's what it was supposed to do, because the government have not been able to really support LPRC with funding that it needs to be able to run that area. So LPRC have outsourced her responsibility to other people. And many Liberians don't understand that LPRC is just serving as a warehouse. Basically, that's all they do. They are just a warehouse. So the other time I said something to somebody, we had an argument, and I said, what would happen if government was to take 30% ownership of the petroleum market? Because with this, then we can make sure that next time don't happen. Because what happens tomorrow if the U.S. rate was to go up again? Importers got mad and said because the rate is too high, they can't bring in gas. So we begin to scramble again. What is the contingency plan that has been put into action now to make sure that this never happen again? We know there might be small gasoline here and there today in Monrovia, but what happened to those in Ganta? What happened to those in Zwedru? Are we concerned about them? But you see, the Liberian man is all about this Monrovia, Liberia mentality. Once something gets well for Monrovia, then it is fine. We don't know what people are dealing with today in Yekepa. We don't know what people in Campley are dealing with, how much they pay for a gallon of gasoline. 11 tankers cannot supply all of us. So we need to be serious here. I listened to a lot of ideas about how we can generate revenue. I don't want to get much into the fiscal and monetary policy about this government because we know that it do not exist. First and foremost, for someone to fully implement a monetary policy, you must have the technocrats. You must have people with the expertise to be able to carry out those policies. You don't have them. Don't quote me. Quote the IMF and the World Bank. They say we don't have the people. So how can we be asking? It's like asking somebody to be a brain surgeon, but he has never gone to medical school. That don't work. So some of these conversations sometimes, I think we should tailor them based on the skill set of where we are at this particular point in time. What I would say to our Liberians to conclude, I want to thank you guys. Mr. Ja and the whole team, I just want to say that we elected a government that was not prepared. We got a president who we felt that he played for us, so we had to pay him back. And at the end result, the president don't believe now that he has to do anything because he has given it all for us on the page, so he owes us nothing. And at the end result, this is what we are dealing with today. So moving forward, Liberians themselves must decide. You cannot be electing lawmakers. Think about it. Our lawmakers that have oversight responsibility. Every time we see them call a government official, it's like, it is the worst thing. Watching Liberian legislature in section. I don't know how you people watch those guys, but it is so heartbreaking. So we ourselves as citizens, we need to get serious if we really want to. We can't elect people based on ideas. When a man with good ideas, vision come to run, you say you don't want him, you don't like him, he says he's that. You want people based on sentiments, party affiliations. Listen, folks, if you believe that your government must deliver for you, you got to elect the people. You cannot elect homeboys and expect them to build Shanghai. That is not going to happen. So we must take responsibility. Thank you, Dennis. Hopefully I can join this partner. I hope you bring the same team, or next Saturday I'll make myself available. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take this guy. He's been on, this caller been on for so long before you. So let me take you, caller, and then we go to our panelists.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Your name and where you calling from.
So we must take responsibility.
Go ahead. Don't stop listening to the Facebook one. Oh, okay. Oh, he went off again. Okay, back to you, panelists. Mr. Mann.
Yes, Ja, I listened to the callers and listening to my brother Leo. You know, Leo is my good friend. I believe in his expertise, but you know, politics has its own way and throwing people under the bus. And I see that Leo tried to throw himself under the bus. He made some fans recommendation, and he also agreed with me on the issue of the road infrastructure. You see, Liberia, that's why I say our economy is right on Broad Street, and we cannot grow or sustainable economic activity on Broad Street. We have to expand the economic activity to increase the revenue envelope. Because all of the good suggestions that come into the table, it have cost variables. You can't implement those things with all money. So, and how do you generate money? You need revenue. And one of the challenges our economy face is the population. We honor 6 million. Our population is under 6 million. So to even see factories, industry going to Liberia, the first thing they're looking at, because if you want to produce in any country, and 50% or 75% of what you're producing should be consumed within that country before exporting, because the cost of exporting your product to other market and looking at the other external regulations, it will affect your profit. And he talked on the issue of iron ore. And Job, we need to get away from the mentality of focusing on the extractive part of the economy. We need to be more innovative. We need to think about new idea. We need to technology to leverage new opportunity. You understand? We have iron ore, but what's the value of iron ore in the market? And I devalue some of the commodity that our country rely on. But sciences, let's look at our institution. How we're developing our curriculum to address some of the economic issues. Okay. How many money we put in the science colleges? Because other people invest in technology. We're talking about technology. How many money? How our curriculum is structured to respond to some of these things? Because we're talking about expertise. We're going to bring somebody from somewhere to say, oh, we need to build the expertise by ourselves. We don't have the human capacity. So look at our curriculum, how it's structured, what we're prioritizing. We're still teaching those regular sciences. We're still teaching those regular sciences. How we're developing our people for the job market. So these are the kind of conversations we want to be having, but we are not interested in the politics and the people that know. And
yeah, right. You're not interested in politics, but you're still talking politics. But let's focus this way.
Yeah.
And let me bring.
John, I was in Florida. Let me just name.
Okay, go ahead.
I see people talking about and the shortage of gas.
The private jet.
Understand? They're talking about inflation. What inflation has to do with gasoline shortage? I don't get it. You have to provide some further explanation on that. But I think the issue of the shortage, because is the core of this inflation, the gasoline shortage. Mm-hmm. So I want for us to look at it because it's a current economic issue that the country faces. Yeah. From our conversation here and stakeholders and national leaders that are following and listening, they can use some of the argument we made to respond to that crisis. And and the issue of the gas shortage over there is poor management of LPRC and inability of the importer to be honest to the consumer, to the public. Because some of the issues that some of the information that coming up, or how people owe them, they don't want to pay. You can just sit there and you say government owe you, or somebody owe you, and you don't have money, and you're not saying nothing until and we all hit the boss on the wall. So the LPRs is being poorly managed, and the importer were not honest to the consumers because there was no press conference or press release that we can lay hand on our issue by any of the importer to raise some of these concerns that are coming up today to the public. The issue of communication is lacking from the side of the importer. So today, people don't want to throw the government under the bus just by the poor management from LPRC. We look at the root cause analysis. We do root cause analysis to know how we got here.
All right.
Thank you. Did you get a real occurrence?
Thank you. We're showing a story that says LPRC boss lie on the oath. But you talk about the inflation and gas price. I thought, I remember economics from college. Yeah, they say when there's a gas shortage, prices will go up. And what you say inflation is? So when you say you don't get the connection, I was kind of a little confused.
We're not looking at the price. Look, because inflation, the commodity is there, but the price is high. Now the issue here is the commodity is not on the market.
Yeah, so it's scarce. So when there's scarcity,
inflation. I want to know.
Okay. All right.
Well. Look, let me just say this. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We're going to be coming close to wrapping up Focus on Liberia. Once again, um, this is just what we have in our beloved country right now is that we have so much confusion on the ground. 1 minute, LPRC goes to our representative and they say something. And then the next minute, they say there's some scheduling conflict. That's why. But then you go to the APM terminal, the folks, and they say, no, that's not it. Then we hear that it was because the gas was sold to our neighboring country so that we could pay salary. So we are just in this whole minutia, and where the rubber hits the road is, I just think about the pimpin' boy who really he gets around, he makes his $5 a day, right? And now he spends 5, 6 hours of the day at the gas station. And when it's time for him to make his rent, he can't make his rent. He can't do certain things. So all of these things are impacting our economy. And yes, the conversation for those that it impacts at the macro level, we love to have it. For those at the micro level, right now we still can't get to the bottom of exactly why there's a shortage of gasoline in Liberia. We don't know why. We can't pinpoint it. We know that there's a committee that was set up, so we're going to look forward to the findings of the committee. I think that will be very interesting. We have Leo who mentioned from the macroeconomic position that there's a lot of things going on. This is just another indicator of the depressed economy that's going on in Liberia, that that we should come up with something like the New Deal. We have to come up with something. And we also have Morris who is saying from his side that how can we come up with something to move this thing forward when you need to have some kind of money coming in. So, we have a few different positions, but at the end of the day, my fellow Liberians, let's remain very clear that there's no one on this panel who is not passionate about Liberia and who wants to help Liberia. The main thing is, maybe the way we want to do it, but definitely there's a lot of good ideas and ways that has been coming forth. But please, this thing about the gasoline is definitely scary, and that is a fact that some schools, private schools that receive money from folks here in the diaspora that send money for the tuition, some of those schools now have had to shut down for 1 week because of this gasoline stuff. So very, very impactful. So I want to give to Leo. Leo, can you take a few minutes, 3, 4 minutes, and kind of give us what your thoughts on about this and what your closing summary is about Liberia way forward. What can we see? Is it we're going to look at something else, another crisis? I don't know what else to do. We got employment was a step, right? Dennis, we got employment. Then we had gasoline. No, then we had the shortage of money, currency. Now we have the gasoline. I mean, if you look into your crystal ball, Leo, what's next? Very scary. Go ahead.
I don't want Leo to conclude now because we have lots of callers. I just wanted to give 30 seconds.
Okay. Let's go to the callers and then we'll let us conclude.
Because they are forcing with me here. They say
no, then it's not us. Leo, you see what you just started?
So let me start from the top here. And callers, just be very brief. 770 area code. You are online. Your name and where you're calling from. You have 40 seconds.
Good afternoon. This is Justina Sewan calling from Atlanta.
Justina Sewan, you said?
Yeah, Justina Sewan calling from Atlanta.
Go ahead, Justina. You're live.
From Atlanta, Georgia. Yes. Thank you for the program. I just wanted to elaborate on the gasoline shortage in Liberia.
Okay.
Once upon a time, used to be a cadet student at Liberia Petroleum Refinery Company. during the war, prior to the war, when I just graduated from high school.
Okay.
And I was working within the operation managing director office. And as a young girl working there at the age of 17 doing a cadet job, I learned a lot about LPRC at the time prior to the where it was the war, because I graduated in 1988. And I just started my first cadet job and going to LU before the war came in 1990. And I just wanted to elaborate, when the war came up, there was an issue we had also with the gasoline. And I had the opportunity to work while I was prior to me leaving from Liberia. In the gas operation director managing department, on this gas shortage, first of all, when it's a gas issue, even though we are pointing on the manager or the MD, but when I was there as a student at the age of 17, we were focusing on operation. And operation managing director was Alexander Awodi, and he has access to Nigeria. So the operation managing director his concentration was gasoline shortage, maintenance, and even everything that has to do with shortage of gas. So when I watched this issue about gasoline, it hit me because as a girl just graduated from high school, that was my first job. We never had that. And even when the war came over, when the war took place, when Prince Johnson took over Douala Market on the island, I was one of those that Prince Johnson almost killed when I ran in the bathroom with my MD because we refused to give the reserve. I'm a living testimony to LPRC. So what I'm trying to say, we maintained it when there was no ship coming in. There was no government. Though was killed. There was no government. We maintained it. The rebels were there to get gas free. The ECOMO were there to get gasoline. Why this time, when we have people, well, I can't say people, probably the people that were put in place, but they don't know the job. They don't know the job. So before a shelter arrives, there should be a meeting that was set up. I work in a corporate office. When there's a crisis coming in a corporation, you should have a board meeting. You should be able to see it. I'm extending an example. If you're driving your car and there is no gas in it, you will see the light. Why this time? What happened to the management? We can't continue to say it's the president. Yes, the president has to do a work. But when you employ people, you employ them to be able to do the job. You employ them to go on the field. I work in the health department. I search the nurses. I check the residents. I check their medical record. I check their diagnosis. Before operation can go in place, we should make sure why a medical necessity. Is it necessary to perform the operation, or we can go ahead and do other areas where we can prevent the operation? So these are areas. You hire the wrong people. So I just wanted to elaborate on that. The problem is the operation, the management in LPRC, and the operation department. The problem is that where this issue coming from, Liberia Petroleum Refinery management caused this chaos.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, see, our callers can be short, so so it's hard. William Bro from France. William, 1 minute.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, go ahead. You are live. 1 minute, please.
Thank you. I think you guys should be prioritizing us because we can be spending a lot of money. But anyway, no problem.
Okay.
I want to commend my brother there who was actually explaining a brilliant idea concerning technology and what have you. But most of what he said is untimely. It is not a time for that. If you're discussing technology, like bro, I've not reached that level. Let us not dream over plus. Let's dream based on what before us. Like bro, right now we need road, we need electricity, we need pipe bore water, we need good health delivery services, we need quality educational system, good agriculture. That's the first issue. Just looking at somebody want to build a house, and you say you want to build a mansion where you will get pool or isa while you even start foundation. then you're dreaming above your level. We reach that level. We must set our base. So then the next thing is, I saw one brother Lobo call. He said people should vote people who bring idea. No, my brother, in Liberia or African politics, it don't work that way. Let's take for example, we that are abroad, we may have all the fine idea. Somebody already in the villages with those people, that person build a house there, that person helping the people whom to whom, where when the children sick, sometimes that person give the children help. Then you want to come from America, one day you come down, or you come from Europe, you go when election time, then you say you come with fine idea. What about in that village, you get kitchen? Then you expect people to vote for you. Your idea be pragmatic. So you get fine idea, be coming down sometime, going in the villages to build things that will help the people. Any idea that is not pragmatic is dead.
Thank you.
Let us get that thing on record. So those ideas are just big talk. Make it pragmatic. And the last point is that the government have the expertise of the both physical and monetary policy. So you can't say those people that in power are not qualified or competent that controlling no area. So let us not do it. The people are working. It will take time for it to flourish.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, let me go to my next caller. Caller, you're alive. Your name and where you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello,
my name is Yaki Williams. Yes, my name is Yaki Williams and I'm calling from New Jersey.
Thank you, Yaki. Go ahead.
Okay, my point is all these ideas those guys putting out, everything are in place, well considered. But the Liberian government need to make investments in those political commodities, petroleum products, and the rights. They need to make investments. It will take the government of Liberia $15 million to make investment in those two major political commodities, rice and the gasoline products. $5 million for gasoline because you got more importers, the Total and the Petro gas. So the government can partner with them and take control of 30% under government control. That will help the government generate some $18 to $32 million profit every year. 30% control of the gasoline market. Even if the government decides to even sell to Guinea or Sierra Leone, in subsequent time, they can do so. But the 30% control will give at least a shield, will create a shield that will prevent scarcity. And now, then the rice market is about $10 million that government can also invest in the rice market to be able to at least have steady supply of the rice on the market. The Liberian government will generate somewhere between $68 million to about $78 million. 30% control of the rice market, because the rice market is valued for $220 million. But now we're talking about gasoline. The government don't have a stake. The government only, the FPRC only do warehousing and regulate the sales, because they have to collect government fees that have been levied and taxes. That's all FPRC does. So there's a problem. There's a recipe. There's a chaotic recipe right there. Now, whether they sold gas to Guinea or Sierra Leone that will cause the shortage, or government has to pay salary, all those things are all lies. Government don't sell people gas to pay salary. The thing is, the business people themselves that are collecting the deposits for gas that have been purchased and issue invoices, and the people go to FPRC, to the warehouses, and collect their supply. They are under-reporting the sales that they are making because they want to pay less taxes and fees to government. That has been the problem.
Thank you. Let me take my last caller and then I'll go to my panelists. We're sorry that we can't even exhaust all our those that are calling, but let's take Joe Moyu.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes,
your name and where you calling from?
Okay. Well, this Moyu, today I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona. Travel out of Vegas.
Oh, okay. Wow.
As usual, I'm really. You guys are doing a fantastic job. It's very educational, very, very informational. And what I'd like to say with regards to the gasoline shortage, like one of the panelists said, I think it was Mr. McLean, it's a symptom. It's actually a symptom of a deeper problem. And let me just piggyback off what one of the callers said. He gave the impression that Mr. McLean's ideas were just too far-fetched. But they got us saying, they say ideas are the currency of the 21st century. There's no idea that too much or too far-fetched. Okay? And what I will also suggest is that President Weah do like what other 21st century African presidents are doing. And if he had done that, we probably wouldn't be facing this 20th century problem, gas shortage and all that in the 21st century. Right next to in Sierra Leone, the president of Sierra Leone opened what he called an office of ideas and innovation. He brought in someone, a young fellow, 32 years old, I think his name is Singbe, from the Sierra Leonean diaspora.
Oh, you should just watch Focus on Liberia.
From MIT. He runs that office. So he needs to open an office of innovation at the mansion. Get somebody like Mr. McLean, probably somebody like Mr. Zuo, Mr. King, to run that office. And that office would cut across all disciplines within government.
Now,
Make
Joe,
government more efficient, come up with new ideas. Yeah.
I'm going to cut you off because all the recommendations you made, you didn't call my name.
Yeah, Joe, you got to call Dennis.
Include it, Dennis. Include it.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm sorry. What I meant the panelists, when I say that, I meant all the panelists.
No, I'm just
people
going
like
to
you,
conclude,
because
Joe.
the fact, Mr. Jah, the fact that Mr. Jah, you set up this whole, set up this.
No, Joe, I was joking.
this
Just go to your
platform.
point.
Of course, that means it goes without saying that you're part of it.
Go to
right.
conclude, Joe, so we can wrap this thing up.
Yeah. So basically, that's what I would suggest. Open an office of ideas and innovation. Get people like you guys, because you guys are coming up with ideas. And it doesn't have to be CDC. We're talking about a Liberian success story. If Liberia succeeds, CDC succeeds, United Party succeeds, all the other parties will succeed. So that's what he needs to do. And I hope some of his operatives are listening to this program where they can get these ideas. So what Mr. McLean was saying, and what all the other panelists, including you, Mr. Jah, it makes a lot of sense. But will the government be willing to listen?
We hope so. Thank you, Mr. Moyo, for always being our regular caller. So, guys, let's conclude with this. We saw that our Sierra Leone intervened. Let's look at that. Let's look at that regional cooperation using the Man River Union, the ECOWAS, and other regional bodies, or even we have WADA, the West African Rice Development Association. How could a picture like that help in resolving these kind of issues that we could trade across the border? So let's conclude this by taking a look at our regional partners, regional trade, and how do we sell to one another. And it was Mr. McLean who was on the floor before the callers came in. So take a stab at that, and then Depu, and then we'll go to Mr. Morris Tillman.
Yeah, I think the regional integration is going to be extremely, extremely critical, facilitated back by, this whole single currency that we're kind of moving towards, I think, ease of travel in the region. All these things kind of help, facilitate economic activity, promote jobs, et cetera, moving forward. And with that being said, Liberia still has to be able to stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Or else we'll be seen like a weak member of the pack. And like what's happening in Europe, some people may fall off from the pack because they decide, well, some members aren't holding their own, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we still have to be, economic and sound, to be able to participate in any kind of regional integration moving forward. Now, Morris did talk about, in sort of the colors, I just kind of I took down I wrote down some comments, I addressed some of their points, kind of separate. He has said, what does inflation got to do with the increase in prices of gas? Well, I would make the assertion that absolutely inflation is one of the primary increase in cause of the increase in prices of gas. If we can recall, prior to this, the gas shortage, gas prices had increased significantly. The shortage only started a few weeks ago, but the price of gas has been increasing for the last 2 years. Probably even longer, right? So it has a huge factor, inflation, not just on gas, but transportation, school fees, food. So it's critical that we manage inflation, in this whole process. What I'm trying to say is that managing a country, it's not like we could say, we're just fixing one thing and then everything is resolved. It's absolutely not the case. You have to fix thousands of things at one time, because you're dealing with a country. You're not dealing with even our own household. We don't just fix one problem in the household and all of a sudden the entire household is fixed. It's impossible. We got to work on a lot of issues at one time to fix, this daunting task. So these are sort of real problems. Now some people say, well, the technology, ideas you mentioned is too far-fetched and all that stuff. Well, guess what? Since we've been born, we've been hearing the same stuff. Liberians can handle the businesses, oh, we're not ready, oh, we don't have roads, oh, we don't have light. Heck, going back to Firestone and all these modern, when they came in 100 years ago, they had the same assertion. We don't have current, we don't have roads. It's the same argument for the last 100 years. When are we going to change the rhetoric and say, well, we actually got to start doing these things now and not wait for anybody or anything? Now is the time to do it, and we got to do it simultaneously and do it and get rolling with it, and thinking, oh, well, it's not time yet. We got to do a lot of these things. Yeah, some things are going to come before the others, but we got to get the ball rolling, you know what I'm saying? Because we're way behind time. And we just continue to kind of make the argument and the excuses that, oh, it's not time yet. We got to wait for this, got to wait for that, because that hasn't worked. It remained poor and remained miserable for so many years, okay? Now, someone mentioned that, well, the current administration is, well, I'm not going to talk about administration, but certain individuals are competent. Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? If people were confident, we understand that the current economic hardship was not caused just in the last 2 years. Absolutely. No sound economist is going to say that everything happened in the last 2 years. A lot of these things started from years ago, decades ago. It's still understandable. But the trend has gotten worse, right? If anything, you can make the argument and say, well, yes, okay, we met it when we came in, and it's the same. But if it's gotten worse and everything's plunging downhill quicker, then you cannot make that argument. You have to make an argument that your action is causing things to be much worse. Okay, so at the very least, it should at least been where it was, and then you gradually try to stabilize and make it increase. But we've seen it plunge downhill into total chaos. Okay, which is causing, this sort of economic depression, or kind of exacerbating it, making it more, more severe. I mean, so in conclusion, I mean, what I'll say is, let's blink our eyes for a second, right? Tomorrow, some executives from LPRC and maybe a few other ministries are laid off. Okay, we put some people in there that could keep a good reserve and distribute oil properly. Have our problems really finished? No, not even for the slightest imagination. We still have inflation that's very high, unemployment is high. Heck, there's not money even in the banks. So even if you have someone that can store a reserve, the banks are not even going to facilitate these large financial transactions because the banks have run out of money. Can you imagine a country where 95% of the currency is not deposited in the banks? That in of itself is a severe crisis. If that happened in America, Trump would declare a state of emergency and they'll be coming with a serious plan to put money back in the bank. But we just sort of sitting there and think that magically, everything's going to happen and work out. That's not the case. I haven't seen a plan yet that's going to recapitalize the banks. I haven't seen a plan yet that's going to that's drastically reduce the unemployment rate, that's going to raise the capital needed to build the superhighways and the roads that Morris talked about. I haven't seen the capital, so we're just going to keep dreaming. We might build a few, small roads here and there, a few community roads, But in the grand scheme of things, these are like not real national development. These are just pet projects, okay, that's gonna continue to cause us to remain where we are. We need serious, bold initiative, much like it was done. I draw the parallel with the stock market crash in 1929. Most things that happen to us, there's historical precedent. We need to learn from these incidents, okay, and use that as a basis to figure, okay, what resuscitates the economy after a depression? Let's put a plan together. Let's all debate the plan. Let's get people to buy into that plan. Let's mobilize the resources, the talent to help bring it to effect. And then we can say we're going somewhere. But to say that, oh, we got a few community roads and, you know, yeah, man, that's not going to do nothing. I mean, let's start dreaming and be real, you know, until we get to that point, we're going to continue to have these challenges. So I thank you for the opportunity and I appreciate you guys inviting me.
Thank you. Let me go to Depu if you are still there. Depu, okay. Morris, that's a serious point. You know, even though we're doing these things, but where's the capital? We need to raise capital before we build all these things. Good stuff, but where's the money coming from? Conclude.
And in terms of capital, raising capital in the economy of Liberia is very difficult because we don't have the economic infrastructure. Liberia was heavily relying on extracting and natural resources, and most of the resources have lost economic value on the international market. Resources that were generated from those transactions was not used to create alternative investment. So today we are reaping the byproduct of the decision we made yesterday. And one of the things we look at is issue of governance, and a lot of people think that this thing will just work overnight. And I want to agree with some of the people that stress on the issue of governance, because governance cut across everything. Governance cut the whole deal. You must have adequate governance in place. You must hold people accountable. People should know. But in Liberia, when I was there, when I worked on the General Auditing Commission, if we go to our website and read some of the reports, the issue of governance being our major challenge. The issue of accountability, the don't care attitude. You know, everything will run to the president. Everything will run to the president. And the president, just an individual, he does not monitor and people daily activities as a minister or director in a very entity. But we Liberian don't care attitude. Today, some of us here and we're talking, tomorrow they put it there, we get a same don't care attitude. And it's killing us. You're not hurting the president alone. But one thing I want to stress here is the president will always be thrown under the bus when these people and demonstrate don't care attitude, and it brings embarrassment to everybody. So as a president, you need to be robust, because Liberians, where we have don't care attitude, it will have a toxic political environment where every little shortcoming in the government, in the governance process, will be politicized. So the president will be robust. He needs to put the feet down, because if he try to babysit some of these people, he doesn't know them. He has not worked with them. He just trusted them. Some of them he was estimate. Some of them were recommended by the able lieutenants. He has not worked with them. So you need to testing them. But you need to be robust. If the people fail to deliver on their promises, he needs to take action. And I want to also talk about the issue of performance bond. Because if I don't know you, I'm president. If I don't know you, you got to set a performance expectation. You have to sign. You got to sign a performance expectation that will use tomorrow to review your performance, to take administrative action. And another thing we have to look at in our governance structure is, and we need to get away from the extractive industry and focus on innovative ideas. We need to look at our curriculum, our school. We talk about expertise. We don't want to borrow expertise from somewhere. And when I was in Liberia, I had problem with people coming to Liberia, one Indian little boy coming from somewhere on a World Bank or IMF and called us an expert. It's sad. It's because we are not invested. We are not moved from the old. We are not shift our curriculum to address current reality. If you go to the University of Liberia, the curriculum still remain the same. How many investment? How we invest in the sciences? We're talking about technology. We're talking about using technology to leverage economic growth. How do we use it?
Right.
We have the expertise. Our curriculum point in a direction. What our students learning over there? You can be teaching people business, accounting, and social sciences, and then you bring new ideas and you expect them to deliver, or you're going to bring different people. So we have to look at our curriculum to address economic issues, talking about expertise.
Then on regional trade.
Yes, and the regional trade is dangerous, and at times it have the benefit and have the effect, because people use it for sabotage. Let's look at if the neighboring country have some bitter a relationship with you, you wouldn't want to respond at a certain level on the bargaining. So, and to really enhance regional trade, there should be regional trade agreements, especially on the economic commodity, like rice, the major economic, like gas, that there should be regional trade agreement that when these things happen in my country, I can come in to based on where there should be clear agreement that state how the trade take effect and who benefit what. And another thing the government needs to do, the government to take charge of LPRC. The government to cut spending at LPRC. If you look at the wage bill at LPRC, people paying the salary, people paying that sell huge money over there, because it's like people that are managing the business and they're contributing to government. So the government need to get involved in the day-to-day management of LPRC, know how much they're making, how much they're generating, and how much they make, how they're allocating their resources. Because you can be building that kind of huge corporate office, and you don't have technology or even a system in place to even monitor your own performance.
Thank you.
So those are some of the issues the government will get into, know how to use that money. Because if the government goes in there and cut spending, the saving from those spending, government will cut, and our government will monitor and manage the activities. Government can then government, because it won't be good for government to go in the market. When government goes in the market, government will honor other potential businesses. It will take people out of business. So what government can do, the resources generated from LPRC, we can have some of the money used and just buy petroleum product and reserve it. The government can have government maintain your own reserve. You're not putting the reserve on the market. You maintain reserve in the various country. If importers have challenges, because some of those importers, they are not getting petroleum product because their customer overseas, some of them do their customer. Like in America, I gave you like 500 tons of petroleum product, you get in Liberia, you sell it and refuse to pay my money. So when you come back to me, I can't give you product anymore. So when these things happen in the market, government can intervene.
Thank you.
Yeah, Morris, thank you. Thank you. Morris, you have landed.
Finally landed.
Man, I landed private jet.
Depu, are you there? Okay, go ahead, William, with your.
Yes, closing remarks. Once again, very good topic of discussion. As you can see, the passion. We want to thank all of our viewers. I think Depu, have you joined on? Okay, we just want to thank all of our viewers that have joined us for this live show, discussing Liberia, educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Right now, our situation on the ground in Liberia is not looking very good, but we are hopeful and we are committed to Mama Liberia. So I want to thank everyone for joining. Leo, thank you. Leo, we want you to know that this platform is available. Okay, if you have some other ideas you want to discuss more in depth, feel free to reach out to us, and we have the ability, because that's one of our things, is to promote all things Liberia. And so we want to thank you and thank everyone. Dennis, back to you.
Let me go to our resident economist, Depu Zuo, your concluding statement. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Depu has been very preoccupied with with granddaddy duties today, so I know he's going to call me after the show.
Yeah, but you know, he got to do it, right? He got to do it. So it's important.
Right. So we want to thank all of you, Leo, for the first time. Thank you so much for coming. Mr. Morris, team man. I think we're going to have an extra show for you and Leo. So you can talk about who fought it, when it started, who's supposed to be.
Just don't say it started in 1920. You know, Dennis, don't put me in that one.
This whole concession business started with William grandfather. So
yeah, no, I'll be happy to come back and talk about it, Dennis. It's funny, but there's a little bit of a family story we have. My uncle, I'm not gonna say which uncle it is, but paid for George Weah's tuition, okay, in high school in the 80s. He's a private person. He doesn't like talk, so I'm not gonna mention his name, but we don't really have any issues or with anybody really in Liberia. Like William's trying to say, we just want the best for Liberia. You know what I'm saying? We just are recommending policies. It's like when you recommend policy, it's like, okay, it's about this person, that person. We're just recommending policies in general from an economic perspective. It's got nothing to do with one person or another or anything of the kind. You know what I'm saying? We grew up in Liberia, went through the wars, we've seen the suffering, you know what I'm saying? And I go back 20, 25 years later, it's like the same people are still suffering. It's like nothing's changed, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, it certainly didn't start recently, but it's kind of been that way. But we also haven't seen the action to resolve it in a very long time either, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, we're now adults now, you know what I'm saying? We're trying to put forth these things in place to help, kind of bring that process along. But I thank you again, Dennis. I thank you, William and Morris. Always, good chatting back and forth. And hopefully we can continue to have enlightening discussions so that we can, all help make Liberia a better place. So thank you all.
Thank you. And stay tuned with to focus on Liberia at 7 p.m. My political guy, Ansoni CA, is going to be here. There is a big politician called Robert Gagwa. He was in Liberia. He came back. Everything that he saw. We're going to have the political analysis of that, and we'll have our focus on Liberia analyst, Dr. Batum Kula and Mr. Wilmer Cooney will be here to talk about it. Or Robert Gagwa is local to Atlanta. He's back from Monrovia, and everything that he saw and analyzed, he's going to be making his report. We're just simply asking him what news from Liberia. He's going to say it all, and we'll be chopping it up. So join us at 7 p.m. As soon as here, we'll be here with that. Tomorrow at 3, we're going to have international artist, Sawiya Kuya, incredible artist, very talented. He's going to be here. And then at 6 p.m. tomorrow, Pastor Timothy Kwe and the Bill Liberia team will be here. We spoke with them over a year ago, and they were doing some incredible things in Liberia. Now the organization is really formed, and they are doing more and more wonderful things. We want to have a pulse check to see how they're doing. So keep your dial set here on Focus on Liberia, where we elevate, promote, educate all things Liberia. Liberia, has all of us agree, is the only country we've got. For those of us who
Dennis,
are born, yeah.
Dennis, one more thing. Leo, before you go, I think, Leo, what's that Iron Burger?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got 20 seconds. Do a plug-in, 20 seconds.
Plug-in, yeah. So, Burger I Am, it's actually pronounced Burger Ram. It's like in Hebrew, it means like many burgers. It's like a burger bar. So, people come and hang out, grab some quick comfort foods, get some drinks, beer, wine, liquor. We got wings, we got burgers, lettuce, wraps, salads, etc. It's a hangout spot, So if you're in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, feel free to stop by. Come hang out. It's by the Rio in Gaithersburg. So hopefully I can see you there and we can, have a good time. That's one of the businesses I own. So
thank you. Go ahead, Dennis. Keep going.
I hope he sells some shares. Depu, are you there? To conclude. All right, we lost Depu there. No, what I was saying is, sometimes it gets very painful. It's personal. For those of us who were, born all the way beyond God's back, we have to walk across 4 creeks before you get to your kindergarten school to go to school. I'm a small guy, so imagine me 4 years old. My mom has to put me on her back to cross the first creek before she goes by. Okay, work my way there, graduated from one of the best high school in the country, at the top, in the country. I went against your man, Gerald Sanguli, in 1988, heading the middle challenge team from Monrovia College. And now when we graduated, we have to sit 10 years on refugee camp because some numbskulls are fighting war. Now the war is over, we're supposed to put it back together. This is our time now, educated, adult now, ready to go back home and contribute, and still we don't have that opportunity. The country is going down, down, down. People are suffering. You go and meet your own peers, you can't even recognize them because of the suffering. They are so very old. Your family member, you see that there is a cycle of poverty. What can we do to change that? And we know that we have the opportunities. When we went into Ghana, and the whole place, Buduburan camp was like a forest. Right now, the camp is connected to Accra because that's like a major city. Even Guinea, they were using ferry to cross the river. If you go in Conakry, you get in the car and get on a ferry to cross. Right now, all that place has been transformed. And we still in Liberia, as somebody say, we're making big.